Take a shower and shine your shoes. Oh, you got no time to lose. You are young man.
All right, guys, well, it's time for some reviews here on CIO Insight. So we want to welcome onto the program Jason Brooks from eWeek Labs. Jason, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you doing, Ashley?
Oh, well, great. Thanks, Jason. You know, today we are taking a look at the Mac Air. So what do you have for us? What are some of your latest reviews?
Well, we were taking a look at the Mac Air recently in the lab, and actually Cameron Sturdivant, our technical director, liked it enough that he went out and bought one for himself. So it's a pretty slick laptop. Thin, light, good amount of power. It's a nice device.
That's an incredible commitment from Labs, Jason. It's Eric. To actually go and unloosen
Good
that wallet sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah, I know.
I think that's a first in all the years that I've been connected with Labs, that they actually went out and bought something on it. There was one review, I think it was up in PC Mag, or maybe PC Week. No, couldn't be PC Week, that used to be us. PC World, who said they thought that the Mac Air, the 15-inch one, was finally what they called sort of the perfect laptop. And anytime I hear perfect, I'm saying, I don't think anything's perfect, but maybe you could just go over what you think some of the high points, the good points, and maybe some of the areas that they still have to work on in the Mac Air.
Sure. Well, you're looking at like you say, perfect is an elusive goal. So you take a look at what do you want out of a laptop, and obviously it's got to be big enough to have a keyboard that you can work at all day. It's got to have a decent size display, and it's got to be portable. So on those basic points, the MacBook Air is really a solid device. I mean, it's holding the thing. It is a very slim, very light piece of hardware, but also Apple's got that single piece of aluminum chassis business going on, and it is. I mean, it feels really real rigid and solid, like just a nice piece of hardware. So even with its small size, so it's got that, and it's not going to be. You're not going to do your. It's not going to replace a workstation or something like that, but it has plenty of power for what you're going to need out of a laptop. Some people have complained about the graphics performance. What they did with it is they went from the previous version had an NVIDIA graphics, and they went over to the integrated Intel, and in some tests it's a little bit lower on performance there, but still, I mean, the performance is performs well for what you need. I mean, the biggest thing is it's a Mac, so if you're a Windows person, if that's the apps that you need, or if that's what you prefer, or if like me you like to run Linux, that's a downside there. But they've done a pretty good job on it, and you can run virtualization software to get to your other platforms if you want to do that.
Jason, I'm curious. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, as I have. A small, light, portable laptop doesn't seem like that much of something that no company has ever worked on before. Every vendor has worked at trying to develop a small, light, portable laptop. Why do you think that Apple got it right this time, and some of the other vendors are still sort of struggling with that model?
Yeah, well, again, it goes back to, it's not a simple, right or wrong thing, but how they've managed to, get it right-er, I guess, than some of the other vendors. I mean, I think that the key difference really is that Apple has shown time and again that they are willing to make decisions that are going to ruffle some feathers, are going to take some getting used to, in order to arrive, at the goal they're going for. So we're talking about a laptop. Obviously, thin and light is going to be, key characteristics there. There's no optical drive. When that first Air came out, it had only the one USB port. It had no Ethernet. A lot of people, had issues with that. I mean, that is pretty tight, but in this current version, they have two USB ports, and they've got their Thunderbolt port, which now see, Thunderbolt's a good example of Apple making a decision that it's a little ahead of its time, where there's not a lot of Thunderbolt peripherals out there, probably one of the main things you're going to use that Thunderbolt port for is to plug in a hub to access more ports. But I think it's by making decisions like that, getting rid of the optical, saying, hey, we know that people are going to be a little peeved if we have fewer ports than what they're accustomed to, but just kind of pushing ahead, and that allows them to try new things, and I think get some things right that other more conservative makers aren't able to get to. I mean, you got to take some chances, right?
Yeah, well, I was telling Maggie before we started this segment, I bought 2 laptops for I have 4 kids, but 2 of them going back to school this year. One got a Mac Air. That's what he wanted. That was the system he wanted to be running for a couple of years. The other, my youngest, just becoming a freshman over in Kansas, said he's a Windows guy through and through. I tell you, Bill Gates would love to talk to him. But I say, why? He goes, the Windows machines are like the best gaming machines around. Setting aside for a second why a college freshman should buy a laptop because it's a good gaming machine. Do you still do you see that even in the Windows environment or the Linux environment or the Mac environment, gaming systems still pretty much a Windows process?
Yeah, that's how I see it. I mean, it just really is. The games are expensive to develop, and the game makers want to go for the volume platforms. Personally, like I mentioned, I like Linux for myself, but when I play games, I like to go to a console, just a separate device for that. But in the world where you're going to have your computer, where you're going to run your apps and your general purpose stuff, and you want to also do gaming on that, it's a Windows world. That is going to be the first platform that developers among general purpose computers, that's going to be the platform they're going to target, and you just have to look at the market share numbers to see how that's going to continue. And also, I don't think that Apple has done specific things with their Mac product to really focus on gaming and tease that out in the way that they've done some specific things with iOS to make it a more compelling game platform, and that's worked for them in that platform.
We had our friend Kevin Barradet on right before, 2 segments before this one, Jason, and he's at the Cornell School of Business, Johnson Cornell School of Business. I'll get that right at some point. And so he's got all the students showing up with everything. And one bit of advice he had for students was you really need to have some sort of backup process. Think about maybe using a backup service like, I don't know, a Dropbox or something like that, or doing some other backup. When you look at something like the Mac Air, you have any thoughts about in terms of what type of backup services out there that you would advise someone to use if they're a student going to a school at this point?
I think that there's a lot of the web-based backups are a good option to go to. I think that I'll be interested on this front to see as Apple finally rolls out their iCloud services. I think that you're going to see some good integration if you're a Mac user. There's personally, I use a backup product that called Jungle Disk that it runs on Mac and Linux and Windows, and it basically is a front end for Amazon's S3 storage service, and that you can also use Rackspace's storage service with that. And what I like with that tool is that you can go to multiple platforms to go to restore your files. The files are being stored, off in the cloud in a service that is, no cloud service is perfect. But I've had good experiences with S3. That's the direction to go down. That calls to mind, though, in our tests with Lion that PJ Connolly, one of our analysts here, has been doing. He has run into a couple issues with Apple's built-in time machine backup in some of the kind of hardware devices. That's another route to go. You can back up to a little NAS device, and that's actually what relevant to the MacBook Air. Also, is that Apple has made some pretty noticeable changes in Lion to the way it works, And there's been some things under the covers that have been a little disruptive, like with any new release. But the Air only comes with Lion. And so if you want to be, you might find that there's some applications too that might not be ready for Lion. And that might be a reason to kind of hold off for a little bit on the Air. That's, going back to the pros and cons of that one. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things out there that you can basically back up to the cloud. I think that watch for iCloud if you're a Mac user when it comes out, because I think they're going to offer some good integration there that'll make things easy, and that's important.
Okay, so Maggie, there you go. iCloud, be ready for your backup. Don't lose your stuff, and think about a Mac Air next time.
This seems like something that I desperately need immediately. Jason, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's been your review for this week on CIO Insight. Definitely check out your Mac Air as well. We got a little bit more CIO Insight lined up for you. In fact, a little bit of a surprise. That's right, Eric Lundquist is going to give us a sneak peek eWeek and CIO. And let me tell you, be prepared for a few laughs. That's coming up next on CIO Insight.
The Pulse Network. It's social TV.